Hey, it's Sean Shapiro, here we go. Knows the road rules better than most folks know. Ask your questions, bring the heat or keep it chill. He's got the answers and a license to spill. Ask a traffic cop, Sean's your guy. Breaking it down, no lie, no tie. Knows the stuff and things to keep you clear. Ask away, he's the voice you wanna hear. Badge, now a podcast star, navigating traffic laws near and far. Stop sign confusions or a signal light feud. Sean's the one to give you the right attitude. Yeah, ask your traffic cop, Sean's your guy. Breaking it down, no lie, no tie. Knows the stuff and things to keep you clear. Ask away, he's the voice you wanna hear. From this man.
Hey, actually, the timing right this time. How you doing? Good Monday morning. My name is Sean Shapiro. I am a former police officer who talks about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day. And I hope you are having a magical Monday, if that's even a possible thing. I think it should be a thing. Listen, this is a show for you. I'm here to answer your traffic and police questions. It's what I do Monday through Friday, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 10 a.m. And then I do it again. I do it again on Tuesdays and Thursdays, but at nighttime. And we're always trying to figure out what the best time to do it is at. Because, life is one of those funny things. Everyone's got one. They all have different places to be. All different kinds of stuff to do, and we want to be here for you. It is important. Yeah, the whole goal is to be here to make life easier. Yeah, explain those things that you need explaining. I've got some video to share with you today. I want to share with you the magic of my dash cam. Something I saw was up Newmarket Way, and as I was heading back to the city, I noticed some interesting activity. And I'll share that video with you in a moment. Also, amazing how people are so easily taunted. I have another video with someone who just got baited into hitting the gas, and then bad things happen. So we'll share that with you soon. Paul says, good morning, all. How you doing, Paul? Thanks for jumping in. Canadian Police Knowledge Network, CPKN, how you doing? They're watching on Instagram. Manraj Verk, Tim Mater, and Storm Chaser all in the live stream there. Larry's in on TikTok. And if you're watching, whatever platform you're watching on, please like and share. It really does help to get more information out and about. We want to share with as many people as possible because the goal is education. If you know stuff before you do stuff, it's likely you won't get charged for doing stuff you shouldn't have been doing or didn't even realize was against the law. That's the thing. People do stuff sometimes because they know it's the law and they don't care. Other times, they just didn't know. Yeah. Someone told them it was okay, so they did it. We are currently broadcasting on YouTube, LinkedIn, X, TikTok, of course, and Instagram. And we do have access to Facebook again. That's a major thing. The Facebook has been acting so weird. They had problems with their two-factor authentication. I don't know if it was my tech support request that helped me out, or if it was the fact that they finally realized that things were broken and fixed it for everybody. Aaron Gamer 79 says hello to you, and Storm Chaser says good morning, Sean, and good morning to you, Storm Chaser. So much to talk about. I got to tell you, I've been seeing some awfully bad driving lately. Yesterday, I actually got into a bit of a thing. A driver claimed, here's what happened. I make a left turn onto Highway 7. This was actually before the video I'm going to be sharing with you shortly. And I do have the video of this person, but I don't know if I want to share that here or if it's dedicated to a separate video. But I made a turn, and then I changed lanes. this person was 2 cars behind and then aggressively tried to pass the vehicle that was behind me and got upset when I was in their way. And then had choice words to share with me at the intersection. And I may have shared a few back. But it's interesting how their perspective was. They were driving aggressively and unsafely. And then they accused me of cutting them off. I asked them how closely I was cutting them off. Was it like 7 inches off the front bumper, 10, 20 of car length? I went back to review the video, which is why I downloaded it. I was not cutting them off. I can't share it. I have to edit it. It has to be a separate video. Okay. Let's see here. Seven Figure says, recently sold my Suron super illegal e-bike. The kids out there are menacing. Yeah. Good for you for selling that thing. Beautiful machine for off-road purposes. Suron, for anyone who's wondering what we're talking about, is a really cool off-road super e-bike. Is that a fair? Well, we can't call it an e-bike because it's got a ridiculous motor. Let's pull it up. Suron Canada. Here we go. And I'm really shocked at how these companies will say that the product is available or is legal, because they really just can't be used. Now, I don't want to subscribe to you. Come on, let's get you on here. Hyper-B, I think it's the Lite-B X is the current one. Does that look like an e-bike to you? It says 31 miles per hour in 2.7 seconds. Yeah, it's a very impressive machine. 75 kilometer an hour top speed. That's the Lite-B X. What does the Lite-B S say? Maybe this is the more e-bikey one. In any case, there's no way that this qualifies in the province of Ontario as a e-bike, which has to have a maximum capable speed of 32 kilometers an hour. That does not include a flip of a switch that says it will not exceed that while you're being lawful. Like, or when it's like saying a Tesla, if it doesn't go over 32, is a go-kart instead of a car. No, it's a car, and that's a motorcycle. It just happens to be electric. And there are many manufacturers, including Harley-Davidson, who make electric motorcycles. This is no different. It just might be lighter. Yeah. If you want to talk more about e-bikes, stuff and things, that's something that I love to go down the rabbit hole on. But again, kudos to you for getting rid of it, because you weren't being lawful, and had you been caught and prosecuted, I think you would have been convicted. $5,000 to $25,000 eligible for not having insurance on a motor vehicle in Ontario. Whether you get convicted on it, it's not a fun process to experience, because it's an interesting game. Can you buy insurance for it? No. Are you required by law to have insurance for it? Yes. And then it's the internal battle of, well, can we charge someone for not having insurance if they can't buy something or can't buy insurance for it? Well, it's not a vehicle that's permitted on the road. So now you're a prohibited motor vehicle. It's complicated as all get out, but can you have it on the road? No. Okay. Fizzban 140. What's going on? Autobiel. Hello. How are you? I was checking out your account. Angel says nothing, but they're here. Let's see here. We got Nicholas Rizzi, and we have Aaron Gamer 79 is in from Elmer, Ontario, which of course is home of the Ontario Police College, which is my experience with Elmer. Which, oddly enough, I really enjoyed my time in Elmer. Not everybody says that, but I did, and I would go back. I would go hang out there. It's a cool experience. Brennan says, "Good morning, Sean and all. Hope you all have a safe, fantastic day." I could go with another safe, fantastic day. Although, so here's the thing, and I wish I could get a coupon for referring everybody, but I'm just going to refer you because it's a good deal. I went to go buy a car wash yesterday. I have not washed my vehicle in a very long time. So what I did is I went to I went online to look for car washes, and I couldn't find anything with a deal or a subscription option. So I went and just took a drive, and I went to the first place, and they wanted $18 for a car wash. This was like a Petrocan or a Shell. $18, which I thought was expensive. Then they said, "Oh, but that's only if you buy gas." Well, I just filled up at Costco, so I didn't need to do that. I wasn't going to spend more than $18. Went to the next place. Oh, and then I said, "Do you have any packages? Like, if I buy 5 car washes, is it a deal?" It was no deal. They had it, but it wasn't a deal. Went to the Esso that was up the street from it, and they said, it was $19, $18, it was $11. I don't know, whatever it was. It was not cheap. They said, but we do have a deal. If you buy 5 of them in this booklet, It's $55, and you get, it's a discount. Then he said, but here's the deal: we currently have a subscription. If you pay, it's 50% off. You pay $35. $35, you can have a car wash a day for the month, and then it'll renew at $80 or something like that. So I'm like, sold. That sounds great. Like, I'm gonna go, even if it's raining like today. I'm gonna go get my car washed because I can. So you go to the app, Circle K, it's Esso. You download the app. You wait in line. You press the button, and it opens the door, and you go in. It's actually going to be $35 a month for the next 2 months, and I can deal with that. I don't know if I'll keep it after that, but certainly not a bad deal. So if you want car washes every single day for $35, I think that's the best deal going. And cancel it after if you don't like it. I don't get paid for telling you that. I just think it's a really good deal. It turned into an economics lesson with my kids. The price per wash. Okay, I still spent $40, or $35. Okay. Brandon says, if Knight Rider were in Ontario, would Kit be illegal to do his red light in the front of his car? Absolutely. You cannot have flashing red lights, and the orbing red light still qualifies as a flashing red light. You can't have red lights in the front, period. Never mind flashing. Cannot. Let's Talk Numbers 416 says, as an ex-con, I support this page. Thank you. That's serious. Fizben says, hello, Sean. We got Angel says, hey, how's it going? Had to wait for a minute, Northwestern Ontario. You had to wait for a minute, Northwestern Ontario. You lost me. But I'm glad you're here. Patriot Rebels is here. Mark, what's going on? Let's Talk Numbers. We talked about that. Rich is here. Let's see here. We got Birdie to Bogey, Daniel. Lots of people jumping in. Welcome. If you're watching for the first time, I do this Monday through Friday, different times, 3 times a week at 10 a.m., then Tuesdays and Thursdays at 9 p.m. And we're doing this so we educate you. We want you to know stuff. We want to, and there's no stupid questions. Ask whatever you like. Here's a fun one, and I think I turned the audio off, but here is a guy yelling at him, calling him names. So he has to show off, and he revs up, hits the gas. What do you think happens next? What do you think? Oopsie-doo. Bang. Oh, not the sharpest knife in the drawer. You know what? This is where people who want to impress others, well, this is where they lose hard. Yeah, if you got nice stuff, I see it's the same collision all the time. Whether it was the BMW in front of the, I think it was a BMW. It was the BMW or a Porsche, but it was in front of a dealership on a night where people came out to show off their wheels, to enjoy their vehicles as a group of other folks who own the same vehicle. Yeah, I think that's what I'm trying to say. Anyway, same thing happened. Dude hits the gas, has to show off, loses control. It's a hard go. Rich says, thank you for all your hard work, Sean. Oh, thank you, Rich. I appreciate it. I'm going to try it again. Shkowayok? Did I say that right? Shkowayok. Okay. Anyway, eventually I'm going to figure out your username. My car does that just taking a corner too quick on a damp road. Where you lose the back end? Yeah, I talk about this all the time, and I was recently speaking to Brian Max, who's a race car driver, and he also teaches racing. He also is he's a part owner of a race team. He's also an automobile journalist, YouTuber, et cetera, et cetera. And we were talking about the oh gosh, okay, we'll come back to that in a second. So the fact that drivers appear good based on all the modern additions in technology that prevent people from losing the back end. If you turn those off, most people don't know how to drive. So it's go away, okay? I turned it into something far more foreign, but go away, okay, is a far easier to pronounce username. I love it. Okay. Elo Trapper wants to know, how does the point system work? This is a good topic. So first off, the point system, despite many people believing it is a serious impact on your insurance, well, they're wrong. Points aren't a thing for insurance companies. They are entirely a point system for the Ministry of Transportation to track your license and driving ability, to suspend you or educate you or suggest change. So if you hit a certain threshold, and we can pull this up, But if you hit a certain threshold, you're going to end up with a suspension. And it changes, depends, or it's a different rating system for those who are learners versus fully licensed drivers. Okay. See if I can find the nice little understanding demerit points. Bingo, bango. 1 second. Here we go. Sharing this page. All right. This is just the Ontario website. And interesting that this has been long discussed. You can get demerit points in the state of New York and state of Michigan as well as other provinces. But does that mean you can't see the convictions from other places? That's the big question. So these are it's the border states. But I've been told that you can get the convictions registered from Florida. Now, whether it's accurate or not, I don't know. Let's see. So 7 demerit points will be added if you're convicted. We don't care about how many demerit points per charge. We get those. That's not where I'm getting at. Penalties. 6 to 8 points, you will be sent a warning letter. And they will say, you are not a good driver. You should change your ways. Which is, I think, pretty funny. Because what does that mean? It means you get a letter. It means nothing else. 15 plus points, you get a suspension for 30 days. That's it. Oh, sorry, 9 to 14 points. A second warning letter going, don't you do that anymore. Boo. Like, how? It doesn't do anything. But 15 plus points, you get a 30-day suspension. Now, you're going to get convictions. The points don't matter, but the convictions matter to your insurance company. So by the time you get to 15 plus points for a fully licensed driver, you're already hurting because your insurance is going to be through the roof. But here, new driver, 2 to 5 points, you get the same warning letter. 6 to 8 points, you get the second letter, encouraging you to improve. And then 9 or more points, you get suspended for 60 days. Okay, so it's a heavier-handed response at a lower points threshold. But this is what people don't realize. Let's look at this. Escalating penalties. As a novice driver, if you've committed an offense resulting in demerit points, you may also receive a license suspension or cancellation under the escalating penalties program. So here we go. What is it? First offense. I think it's 4. If you get 4 or more points in one shot. Let's see here. So you break any graduated licensing rule, you're looking for 30 days the first offense, 90 days the second. So this is an example I talk about on a regular basis. You're a G1 driver. You're supposed to drive while supervised. You choose to take it out on your own. Well, you're not really licensed at all, but you're going to get a 30-day rip on the first time, 90 days the second time, and third time you're going to get kicked out of your driving program. You can start again. G1, day 1. You have no time towards your license. If you have, there it is, convicted of Highway Traffic Act offense that results in 4 or more demerit points, street racing, careless drive. So you get a careless, you rear end somebody and you get charged with careless and you're convicted or you pay the ticket. Same difference. You're getting a 30-day suspension the first time, 90 days second time, third time you lose your license. Like, it's not hard to get into the realm of losing your license. And of course, if you get a suspension, stunt driving is something you'll go straight to court for. You're going to get a 104. It's not a ticket that gives you the option to pay, but you're going to get suspended as a result of the conviction. In addition to whatever cell phone, you get you're going to get a suspension based on a conviction, even though there's a ticket with demerit. Well, it's 3 demerit points the first time, but it comes with a suspension. So I imagine that would also result in a suspension. Yeah, it's fun stuff, right? It's so much easier to avoid entirely these offenses by not engaging in the dangerous and illegal behavior. Just saying. Okay. Oh, are you aware of the fake insurance slips going around? That's from I don't know how to translate your username. It's graphical. So I'm not aware of a current problem with them. I'm aware of the fact that this has been happening forever and a day. A good friend of mine, I've spoken about this a number of times in the lives, and the deal is his family was in the courier business. They were paying insurance to an insurance broker who was defrauding them because he was printing out the insurance slips, but there was no insurance policy behind it. So eventually, when there was a collision, they found out that they had no insurance. It was a big problem. So yeah, fake insurance slips. I mean, listen, driving with no insurance has long been a thing. Some people, they'll call an insurance company, get a quote, pay the premiums month one, and then they just drive around with those insurance slips afterwards and pretend. And they figure, well, you know what's the worst that's going to happen? $65 ticket for no insurance card, expired insurance card, or they're going to get the charge for drive motor vehicle or permit motor vehicle to operate on the. I'm messing up the wording, but what is the exact? Anyway, I like the exact wording, but it comes with a $5,000 to $25,000 fine on the first conviction. $5,000 to $25,000. Now, granted, chances are you're going to see $5,000, not $25,000. They can even go by way of 6 months of jail. They can combine that with the charge as well. So you can, or the conviction can be money and to be either or combined. Which I think we should see much more jail time. I think people who break the law need to have a more serious offense or consequence. Elo says, do they reset? The points they do. So points stay on your license for a total of 2 years from the date of offense. So if you were to get a charge today, and you took a year to get to court because the courts are backed up and you were convicted and it was registered, a year of the points they'd be applied, but they'd only stay on for a year because it's from the date of the offense. However, convictions, which are what the insurance companies care about, stay on for 3 years. 3 years from the conviction. So if you were to wait a year till you were convicted, and or you waited till pay your fines for whatever reason, you would it would be the date of the registration of that conviction. Okay. How can an e-bike affect my, what is this? How can an e-bike affect my insurance on my car? Riding an e-bike? Riding an e-bike, if it's a lawful e-bike, shouldn't affect your insurance in any way, shape, or form because an e-bike is treated as a bicycle in the province of Ontario as long as it qualifies as an actual e-bike, which means no more than 500 watts motor, not weighing more than 120 kilos, not being capable, and capable is a big word, they were an important word anyway, of going more than 32 kilometers an hour. If it's capable of going faster on a flat surface, we're not talking about downhill. If it's capable of going faster, if it's got more than that 500 watt motor, if it's heavier, if it doesn't have exposed pedals, if the pedals aren't functional, I should say, then it's not an e-bike, it's a motor vehicle. And then it could affect your license. So D-word, that would be the way to have it affect you if it was something that was not legit. Chris XO says, good morning. Good morning, Chris. Conky and Simply Harjeet, Ahmad, how's it going? Local chef, what's happening? Lots of folks jumping in. Let's see here. Thank you. Operate motor vehicle, no insurance. And permit motor vehicle, no insurance. Thank you. I was asking what the proper wording was because it wasn't flowing. Okay, and Juliana, thank you for sharing the live. If you're watching and you don't already know what the story is here, I'm Sean Shapiro. I'm a former police officer. I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. And if you've got questions, I try and answer them. If I don't know the answer, we'll find it for you. But I do this 5 days a week to help you out. I left the police service. Well, that was August of last year. I can't believe how quickly time flies. Jax / Angela Alberta. How's it going? Thanks for the follow. Yeah, following does help. We get more people to the party, and if you are on TikTok in particular, please smash the screen gently. Smash, don't crack the screen, but tap it so that the live knows that you like it, and we get the lives up or the likes up. And 4.7 thousand likes already. Thank you so much. But yeah, it tells more people. And it's funny, the algorithm is a weird and wonderful thing because sometimes we have tons and tons of people in here, and sometimes it's quiet. But either way, we're doing this because we want to help you out. All right. So we have a question of, so under what circumstances would they give you a no insurance instead of an expired license? Oh, sorry, expired insurance. I didn't know that was a thing. Okay. So if I pull you over and you can't surrender proof of insurance, which is the card, if you don't have it with you, you don't, or you give me one that's expired, that would be automatically a failed to surrender proof of insurance, $65 charge. But my investigation wouldn't end there. I'd be like, okay, can you show me a recent payment to your insurance company through your banking app to prove that you actually pay insurance? That's how I used to handle it. So with online banking, you have the magic of being able to say, yeah, look at that. There's insurance. I see the transaction in my bank. The date's this year. It's this month. And it makes total sense. How do you pay for it? Monthly or annually? So that would be the way to go. The second thing that I would do is, regardless of that, I'm going to note your information, your driver's license information, because I'm going to be giving you a ticket, but I'm going to be taking notes on that charge or stop, and I'm going to write down your insurance information for my records, and I'm going to call your insurance company. Now, if I have time to do it, if it's during the day, that would happen right as I like at the side of the road, where I would call the insurance company to verify the policy status. If the insurance company said, yeah, it's all up and in order, that's the only charge you get. If the insurance company said it is not valid, I would charge you for drive no insurance. Then you would be walking home or taxiing home or taking the tow truck if they give you a ride. But that's how it would play out. And if it was at night and the insurance company wasn't available, then you would likely be driving home, possibly with an inactive policy, which I would then look into on the next business day, or a week later, or a month later, or a year later, because I have 3 years to lay the charge of drive no insurance or permit drive no insurance. So yeah, it's all about as much as you can find out in the time that you have available. Busy day, slow day, catching up with work on a later date. It's all good. D Ward says, it did. The officer charged me with no insurance and no driver's license because the pedals were fixed. Oh yeah, of course it would. Yeah. So if your vehicle doesn't qualify as an e-bike because you had fixed, I'm guessing you meant that your pedals were not attached or were not functional, then your e-bike wasn't an e-bike, it was a motor vehicle. And then the officer charging you with no insurance and no driver's license would be appropriate because your vehicle was a motor vehicle and would have required a motorcycle license and insurance and registration for a plate, and it could have charged you with unsafe motor vehicle as well, because chances are it wouldn't qualify for a safety. So it's a whole bunch of things. Harjeet wants to know if I'm going to be on Jerry's show today. Jerry Agar and I join forces every other week usually. So this week would be no, and then next week would be yes. In fact, I won't be on the air at all on Wednesday, because maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll change the timing around, do it in the afternoon. But I'm going with my dad to a medical appointment. So and it happens to be at the right time it's like at 10 o'clock. So I won't be able to go. I won't be online. That's what I had to say. I got a Rizzy dad joke for a little bit. Rizzy's got questions about points. I'm scared to press this button. Let's do it. So if you have, let's say, 5 points on your license and enough time goes by where you have no more infractions and your points are off your record, are you telling me the Ministry of Transportation forgives and forgets my past driving infractions? He continues to, even though you got the ellipses there, he says, I have a hard time believing that they forget. That's a Rizzy right there. So the deal is that they don't forget anything. They don't, but the current number of points and the impact that they have on your ability to drive disappear. So they never forget. When I was a police officer, if I ran your plates which then gave me the registered owner, if you were in fact the registered owner and I pressed the button, or if I got your driver's license and I did a check on your license, it would tell me how many points, but I could also open up a ministry window and see everything since the day you were licensed. In fact, if you had an infraction from before you were licensed, it would show up too. Okay. Renegades wants to know what my opinion on the moon is. What's your opinion on the moon? Do you know what my opinion is? It's zero gravity, my opinion on the moon. It's different weight. Otherwise, the moon is a magical thing to stare upon. What do you want me to say about the moon? So, okay, this Rizzy's taken care of. But yeah, some people wait so long that the points never even hit their license. And people very often play the game of court to avoid the, triggering something that would have them lose their license or, have any impact. Like they'll just go to court and postpone things, playing the delay game for that very reason, is to avoid having court issues or license issues. Yeah, that's what I meant. If you're watching, you don't know who I am. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a former police officer who talks about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. If you don't follow me, please do. I go live 5 days a week and I answer traffic and police questions. That's what I do. At least that's part of what I do. Rizzy goes on to say, so what is your view on what is this? The road comedian that went on the train hopping the comedy show. So I started to watch it. So Rizzy sent me a video of a guy who hopped a train, and I mean, I stopped. At some point I stopped watching because it was just an experience of him riding the trains illegally, by the way, trespassing. I didn't have much to think about other than it's illegal to do. Laj says you skipped that one. What did I skip? I don't think I skipped anything. It's possible. Go away. Okay, says there doesn't seem to be enough traffic cops in London to catch our dodo birds. Sadly, there aren't enough cops anywhere to catch everyone, and I'd love to see them hire more. We have a shortage of officers, qualified people to become police officers. We have a problem where lots of people are retiring and leaving. We need more people, so it's a thing. So yeah, I didn't skip anything. I did skip that one. Was there? But I'm assuming Laj thought I was skipping something else. So yeah, I wish we had more coppers. I wish we had more electronic enforcement so that the officers that were on there could focus on the most dangerous stuff and not get caught up with, the simple stuff that electronic enforcement could take care of. And I think it could do a really good job. Charisma's here. Terry and Darlene, Keegan, Andrea. We got lots of folks that are jumping in. And 3 people are new follows. That's always good. I like the follows. What else we got here? Honda Migs, what's happening? Tram Traveler. Okay, I got it. This is dash cam footage. Dash cam footage from yesterday. Oops, what did I do? I stopped it. Play. So I thought that at first I'm like, okay, what's that? What are they doing? And I pause. So I figured, okay, they're making an improper right turn. Why? Because they made it from the center lane and or from the right lane, not the turn lane. I figured that was as simple as it got. Now check this out. And then, what the heck is that? So how many charges do you think are there? Like, wow. So you've got the improper right turn that we've got taken care of. We know that's a thing. Improper right turn. And then they make the U-turn. And then what's next? Anyone see it? Let me know. I'll give you a second while I read up on other. We got to vote for careless driving, to be honest. Well, a lot of people think this is a legit move. But there's a couple of things at work here. So we've got the improper turn into the side street. We've got an improper turn out of the side street. We've got a fail to stop for red light. Actually, maybe it was green when they made it. Let's look at the timing. I wasn't paying attention to that. But when they made the right turn, so it's still red. Of course, I'm blocking. Okay, so it's now a green. So actually, okay, it's green for them. I was going to say they ran the red of the right, but that doesn't make any sense because they've got a green. So it's just the 2 improper turns because they can't steer. But a U-turn within an intersection in that way, was it? Yeah, I don't like it. Lulu says improper turn, not in safety, full stop. Well, they definitely made they definitely, let's go back and watch it. Let me just back that puppy up. Is that a stop? So they've got a full stop here on the red, but they've got the improper right turn. I don't know what to call that maneuver here. Is that illegal or is it just dumb? And then that right turn was wide. Did they fully execute an improper? At very least, an improper right turn and a fail to stop red light. Well, no. We talked about that. Okay, I'm at first I'm like I was making a list of so many things that I would charge. Now I'm like, maybe it's just the improper right turn. Anyway, Lodge says all of the above. Pats fan says called it. I'm not waiting for the red light to turn. LOL. That's what we call it. It's called I'm not waiting for the right turn. Hunter Vernon says, when did you retire? I retired at the end of August. Honda Make says, Sean, great to see you. Great to see you too. 4 Kids in a Porsche says, electronic enforcement can cross over to authoritarian nightmare. Many solutions seem anti-car or revenue versus safety. It's a conversation I really appreciate, so thank you for bringing it up. I have mixed emotions. I don't like the idea of not being able to pass wind in public and be, given a ticket. Like if you look at Fifth Element, one of my favorite movies, and you swore and a printout would come out of the wall. And it was very much in 1984 for anyone who is familiar with that work. 1984, if you had thoughts, the thought police were after you, but you were being monitored at all times. I'm not a big fan of that. But stuff where you are running a red light, speeding is a big one, and people don't give it the respect or appreciation that speed is dangerous. So if you break those, and it's more than the margin of error that they've given you, usually about 10%. Why on earth would we? Is that authoritarian? Like, it's about safety, and it's about how you do one thing is how you do everything, in my opinion. If you speed in one area, you are likely going to speed in every area because you speed. Anyway, if you get to the point where no one can get away with it because they will be caught because the cameras are everywhere, I think people will stop speeding. That's my thought. Greg says, failed to use turn signal, and also says, nice to see you, Sean. Greg, thanks very much. I didn't even pay attention to the signal. I was so focused on the just a silly maneuver. And for anyone who's wondering what we're talking about, I'll put that back on the screen. Yeah, no signal. Good catch. I was not paying attention. Oh no, there's a signal. Late. It was a late signal. There was a late signal. Okay. Sam Hoskins says, it's the TikTok dad. I didn't know that was well, I guess it is a dad kind of thing to sit and talk about driving, isn't it? A ticket for 2 kilometers over is ridiculous. That's from Walla 3X. I agree. 2 kilometers over would never happen, at least not by me. A police officer is looking probably at 10 over is probably the minimum that I would see an officer write. Now, I've heard stories of people writing tickets for 2 over, but that's not the norm by any stretch. That's someone playing games. A modern officer is not writing that. Keegan wants to know why you can't register an ATV or side-by-sides for street legal use everywhere. Because the province said so. Now, there are vehicles that are going to be available under the Slow Vehicle Act, or pilot, I should say. Let me pull this up. Is it called? Oh, no, it means limited speed. Limited speed vehicle. Low speed vehicle pilot program. Here we go. Let's switch this to that. Okay. So there are very specific vehicles, electric 4-wheeled, maximum 40 kilometers an hour. It's considered a neighborhood electric vehicle as a low-speed vehicle if it meets the, yeah. So it's not a golf cart, or typically they don't meet the requirements. Can you believe it's been around since 2017? Which means the pilot was only good for 2 more years. Is that yeah? Okay. They'll probably make this permanent. Although I don't see these on the road. Allows low-speed vehicles that meet certain requirements to be used on the roads in Ontario with a maximum speed limit of 50 kilometers per hour, which means the roads can only be 50K. You can't use them anywhere else, which is great in small communities. But the municipality must pass bylaws to allow them on the roads, meaning it's your local municipality that allows them. Now, for the person who asked about side-by-sides, well, side-by-sides are generally speaking going to go much, much faster. I've seen some pretty high-end side-by-sides that are cool off-road machines. But that's why it doesn't qualify for what's permitted. Autobiel says, nobody has patience anymore. Everyone is in a hurry. And Sam Hoskins says, yes, people are so impatient. That's the biggest problem. I go the speed limit. I'm very proud to say that I do that as consistently. I have it has been brought to my attention. Well, whenever my kids notice the numbers on the what's called the GPS in the in-car, Dad, you're doing a kilometer over. Okay, so occasionally I will go slightly over by a kilometer or so because, oops, it happens. But that's not to me speeding. Speeding is speeding. 1 kilometer, I'm going to say it's part of the past. I wouldn't charge someone. Likely no one's going to charge me. And it's not intentional. It's just what it is. Anyway, I was passed recently by a couple of vehicles that were going so fast, it was ridiculous. My kids even said, oh my God, because the car moves, though, you're displacing so much air. That just, it's ridiculous. as ridiculous as the fact that I had a very specific point that I can't remember what I wanted to make now. Crap. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. It was going to be meaningful and amazing. Let me jump back to 4 kids in a Porsche. If it's about safety, then let's use cameras and facial recognition to catch pedestrians who cross intersections when they shouldn't. All of a sudden, there are privacy concerns. Well, or cyclists. Well, first of all, I don't disagree with you. I'd love to see that kind of enforcement. It's not against the law to cross the street, mid-block, for instance. There is no jaywalking law. There should be increased laws to deal with pedestrians. Right now, pedestrians aren't legally obligated to identify themselves. They should be. We need changes to the law. We need to enforce it. So I don't disagree with you. But when you talk about that versus vehicles that are breaking the law and doing it in significant numbers above the posted speed limit or running red lights, I don't think you can make an excuse. As much as I appreciate that you don't like the authoritarian nature of being monitored, is it because people should be able to get away with stuff? Like, why should anyone be able to get away with breaking the law? But I do agree with you, and I don't think you were intending me to say this. I do think we should have facial recognition and the ability to crack down on people who are breaking the law and putting themselves at risk as well as others. I don't think anyone should be able to, because what happens, and I'm one of the weird cops that actually, are ex-cops now, but that would charge the pedestrian who walked out in front of the car because the car is not at fault, even though the car hit the person. The person walked in front of the car, thus the collision was caused by the pedestrian. And people would say, well, the pedestrian was injured. They're the victim. No, they caused the collision. The victim was the driver who screwed up the front of his car and will have PTSD as a result of mowing down this pedestrian who was at fault. Under certain circumstances, obviously, not every one of them is in that situation. But so I'm trying to say, it depends. What do we got here? Lodge says it's like talking about cutting grass. I'm not picking up what you're putting down. Sam Hoskins says if you're speeding, you're already late. Just accept that you're late and move on. Drive safely. 100%. So that was the point. Thank you very much, Sam, because what I was trying to address when I was talking about the vehicles that were passing so much over the posted speed limit is that they're going to be at the stoplight with me at the next stoplight. And if not the first one, they're definitely going to be at the second one. They're just not getting anywhere any faster. They think they are. They feel good about it. They're under stress. My wife constantly tells me, like, why are you so chill? Drives me crazy. You're so chill. I'm chill because I got nowhere to be. I'm on my own time. I left enough time in my schedule to allow for delays because I planned. So I'm not going to get angry. And anybody who cares about you is not going to be angry if you're a couple minutes late. Obviously, work aside where you have to be on time, but that you should know better. Things happen. Life is like that. So chill. Enjoy the drive. The drive should be something you enjoy. I like driving. I'm not trying to turn that, whatever length of time behind the wheel into a stressful experience. Got enough stress. But I like that. If you're speeding, you're already late, 100%. And if you look at the way we address it in policing, we say on time is late. So early is on time is late is unacceptable. 4 kids in a Porsche says going 100 on the highway when flow of traffic is 140 should be considered unsafe. But it's unsafe not because you're doing 100. It's unsafe because people are doing 120. You have to flip the script and look at the actual cause. 120 is illegal. Thus, no one should be doing it. So if someone's going 100 following the law, it's unsafe because people are speeding. We don't make the lawful driver the problem. What we need to do is hammer everyone who's doing 20 over and make them slow down. Now, why are we not focusing on the 120 driver? Why are there so many people breaking the law? We don't have enough cops. But that doesn't mean you should all speed. You don't speed because the people who, we have to go into this herd mentality where everybody slows down. So I would encourage you, everybody, if you're watching, do the speed limit. Stay to the right, do the speed limit. I'm going to try not to call people names, but the people who are breaking the law, let them stay to the right, to the left, I should say. Let them pass you to the left. They're going to do what they're going to do. Stay to the right, do the lawful thing. The more people who start following the law, the more difficult it will be for those to speed and justify their actions by being bullies, because they're being bullies. If you're speeding, you're being a bully. And if you're doing 120, you are enabling the people to do 140. You're doing 120. They're only doing 20 over. They see that the new limit in Ontario, they say, is 120 because people get away with it so much. Now, people still get charged with it occasionally, but the police are focused on people doing 140 now because the average person, they can't pull everybody over. The average person is doing 120. Well, I will tell you this. They are pulling people over for 20 over on the 400 series highway. Why? I know this because my buddy called to tell me he got pulled over for doing 20 over. You're going to get stopped eventually. It's going to be less fun. And the easiest way to avoid it is to do the lawful thing, stay to the right. Let them do what they do. 4 kids in a Porsche continues to say, is 120 speeding or should speeds be increased on highways? Cars are way better, safer than when the limits were set. No, 120 is speeding. 120 is illegal. And we don't need to change the speed limits. They've only changed the speed limits in certain areas to make them 115. Or 110, what am I saying? 110 in certain areas, not 115. And in those areas, they were determined to be safe areas to do that. But not every road, not every highway. 120 is 20% over the posted speed limit, and you should get ticketed for it. Could 110 be the new one? I could accept 110, but I would say that if you did 111, you should get a ticket. At that point, like you have to draw a line in the sand. And when people can't follow the rules, they're putting people at risk. And you do increase the chances of collision. You do increase the amount of work needed to be done to slow the vehicle down by going faster. Let's see here. Oh, I got so I understand now. Lash says because I was called the TikTok dad, so I should talk about things like insurance, grass cutting, dad stuff. Mustafa wants to know. He says, hey, I asked you a question on turning right on red versus making a U-turn on a green or arrow. I didn't see your original question, but I will answer that question in that, I've got to scroll back a bit. Maybe I missed a couple. Ali wants to know about motorcycles driving and splitting lanes. Not legal. And thank you for the gifts, Ali. No, you can't lane split. You can't lane filter, technically. It's careless driving. It's possibly stunt driving, depending on the observations. It could even be dangerous driving, which is criminal. But that's, you can't do that anywhere in Canada. In fact, you can only do it in 5 states in the USA. And there is a difference between the lane splitting and lane filtering. Lane splitting occurs in moving traffic where you ride between moving vehicles. And lane filtering is riding between stopped traffic. Neither is legal. I have less of an issue with filtering than I do with splitting, but neither are legal. Gurbaz says, cops are a joke nowadays. I'm suing my regional police for $20 million. Okay. Good luck to you. I don't know anything about your situation, but there are issues. The police don't have enough power. I know people think they have way too much, but truly they don't have enough power because they're handcuffed by the laws, whereas bad folk and lawbreakers aren't. Well, they are, but they don't follow it. So anyway, that's a longer story. Rosaria, thanks for joining the live. And 4 kids in a Porsche says, if 100 was considered safe in the 1970s, yeah, still not a good idea. I don't support it. I mean, others might, but I don't. Okay. Ray's Traveler says, in Newfoundland, many towns, side-by-side, etc., are illegal. Cornerbrook, etc., has to have blinkers, etc. Yeah, for the slow speed stuff, they have to be properly prepared. But different provinces, different laws. Insurance and license, yes, regarding the low-speed vehicles. Wayne Hahn says, traffic circle with yield sign. One side keeps going. I'm stopped for 5 minutes. Are they supposed to yield? Oh, I hate traffic circles. I've come to the grips that I really don't like them. It has to be a very specific low volume area for a traffic circle to work, in my opinion. And people have to be, somewhat courteous. I was navigating one yesterday, actually, and every time I go through it, I think it's like Russian roulette or chicken, to figure out who's going to do it. Very often people have no idea how to navigate them. Even if they live in a community that has them, they don't know what they're doing because they're doing it wrong. So we should all be traveling slow enough in those traffic circles. You're supposed to come down to about 15 kilometers an hour, which no one ever does. You actually end up doing this wonderful cornering maneuver that makes you feel like you're in an F1 car. If you're doing that, you're doing it wrong. So if you're going slow enough and you're giving proper following distance, it should be possible for vehicles from all directions to merge into. After the first car comes in, you're yielding. Yeah, you got space. It's all about following distance. It's all about, but you should not be in a position where the traffic is so heavy in a traffic circle that you cannot enter. That's just wrong. 5 minutes, I would lose my mind. Yeah, I would change my route to avoid the traffic circle. There's so few of them in Ontario that, at least in the communities that I travel in. Although I have some of them in my neighborhood, and I love them when there's no one on the road, and I hate them when there's anybody there, because people don't know how to use them. They just don't know. So 4 kids in a Porsche, continuing with, if 100 was considered safe in the 70s, then 120 is likely, given the advancements in car safety. Limits should be reviewed up or down every decade or so. It's not about, first of all, I get it's highways, there should be no pedestrians there, but because when we discuss speed, very often the speeds are low to provide safety, to pedestrians. Obviously not an issue in 100 speed limit areas. But there's 2 things. One, you have cars of all vintages on the road. So when the fancy car with all the safety stuff is in a collision with a car that doesn't have those things, one person is now in a situation where they could be more seriously injured. So could we have a Model T on the car on the road? Probably not on the highway, but a Model T is lawful on the road. Really bad example, but what I'm getting at is very big mix of vehicles. The faster the car goes, the more damage it's going to do when it hits something. So the only reason we don't have the level of fatality that we've been experiencing in other jurisdictions or in previous years is that medical magic is such that people survive because of the great work done by paramedics and doctors, and of course technology for crumple zones and airbags and all that stuff. But we still have a mixed bag. We have people and vehicles of every era. So you can't just blanket say it's safer now. And Tram Traveler, 100%, what doesn't change is human reaction time. Well, I will tell you this, very often these newer cars don't even need humans. They just stop on their own, with all their automagical stuff. Okay. What do we got here? Suzanne, thanks for the follow. Okay. Lash says, serious question. Do you feel that the need for change comes from both sides, not just the civilian? In what context, Lash? Like, do you mean like laws to change? Because they're lawmakers that make the changes for law. Police enforce them. So when you say civilian, it alleges that the other side is not civilian. The only other not civilian you have are police and military. But they don't make the laws, they just enforce them. So what's the change that we're talking about specifically? The way they approach the changes? Like, let me know more. I want to know. Sam Hoskins says, I know someone who was killed jaywalking. Please don't do it. It is not worth it. No, it's not, if you can avoid it. But there are environments where crossing mid-block is the only way to cross the street. You can't walk 5 kilometers to the next intersection or a kilometer to the next intersection. You just have to be incredibly cautious. You can't assume the car is going to see you or stop. I say car, vehicle. Sam Hoskins says, I avoid traffic circles if possible. 100%. Yeah. Bangkok says, we need laws like Dominican Republic. They are nuts there. I've driven in the Dominican. I don't think they don't have laws there. What are you talking about? There's a lack of laws or a lack of enforcement, or like, it's scary. But I rode motorcycle there and I had a lot of fun. It was scary. It's good to know, you do, what is it? You're reminded of how precious life is when you're put in a position to drive in a place like this. That, I should say. Brandon says, I sent you a message on Instagram. I will check it out. Killer Draconis, how's it going? I've been ignoring the YouTubers here. Dad jokes flagged. What do we got here? Another dad joke at the end, which is coming up soon. We have dad jokes, and I got to tell you, I'm thoroughly addicted and binge watching a show called Pitt, The Pitt, Pittsburgh ER. There's a trauma center there, teaching hospital. It's an ER style, amazing show. Like, amazing show. And not only do I think I have PTSD from watching it because it's so graphic, and it just brings me back to my work in traffic collisions and seeing people that are hurt and spending so much time in emergency rooms. Having been in a collision myself, being on the table in an emergency room, it's pretty graphic. So buckle up if you're going to watch it. But what an amazing show. I had breakfast. I watched it over breakfast this morning because I'm like, I got it. It's totally, I'm almost finished, almost up to date, and it's amazing. So if you're looking for something that's truly awesome, check it out. By the way, if you're watching and you just jumped in mid-conversation while I'm talking about stuff and things, my name is Sean Shapiro, former police officer, talking about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff, and I'm here to help you. If you've got any questions, ask away. That's what we do here. Okay. What do we see here? We've got Mustafa says, did I talk about this already? Hey, I asked a question on turning right on a red versus making a U-turn on a green or arrow. So what is it that you're... So I went looking for your original question. I didn't see that. But what is your question about turning right on red versus making U-turn on green? What is the question? Okay. Oh, Laj says, lost a friend in TO because of a semi cutting the corner too hard. Oof. The corn, like they cut it short and hit a pedestrian? Or do you mean, like, either way, sorry for your loss. And Sam says that too. Ali followed me. Thank you very much. Autobiel says, if you give them 110, then they'll go 150. It's true. That's the problem with raising the limit. If people are doing 120 to 140 at 100, how fast are they willing to go when you raise the speed limit again? I have a big problem with it. I don't see a reason to go faster. And unless you're going 120 sustained across a long period of time, you're really not making any savings. So you have to be breaking the law for a consistent period of time. Yeah, he's not, and just to clarify, 4 Kids in a Porsche is not saying speed racing is good, but he's saying, speed racing rules. Okay, yes, we can explain that. So 4 Kids in a Porsche says, can you talk about updated speed racing rules? 40 kilometers over in a speed area under 80 and jumping left turn on green, most don't know. 100%. And just to continue his thought, police/media say speed racing is up when reality is speed limits have lowered and laws lowered. So what was legal 5 years ago is now illegal. Not exactly. I mean, I hear what you're saying. So let's break it down. We'll do a quick little thing on stunt driving. In the province of Ontario, if you are, there's a charge called stunt driving. It is a very serious charge. You get a 30-day suspension on your driver's license, 14-day vehicle impound, and that's just to start things off. That's administrative roadside. Then, aside from all the monies you're going to spend because you're going to tow your car, your car's going to be impounded, you have to pay for that. It's about, call it $2,000 with towing fees and everything. That's the start. Once you go to court, you're looking at a 1 to 3 year driving prohibition on conviction, a $2,000 to $10,000 fine, and up to 6 months in jail. That's the consequence. That's the first the consequence of the first conviction. Second conviction goes from a 1 to 3 year suspension to a 3 to 10 year on the third conviction, and subsequent ones it's lifetime ban. Bad things. But how do you get it? Well, it's 15 different triggers roughly. I say roughly because I'm sure there's ways of interpreting things that more would be covered. But first thing first, it's going to be speeding. Speeding is one that everyone thinks is stunt driving. So 50K over the posted speed limit anywhere was the old law. The new way that it's being applied and has been changed to is if you're in a speed zone, the speed limit under 80 kilometers an hour, 40 kilometers over the posted speed limit is stunt driving, which is good because that means that if you're doing 80 and a 40, you are stunt driving. Whereas before it would have had to have been 90 and a 40, right? Which is 40 over is ridiculous. 40 over stunt driving if the posted speed limit is under 80. If the posted speed limit is 80 or above, then it's 50. I don't know why. I think that should be 40 over for all of them. Why should anybody be allowed to do 40 over? And granted, it's a speeding ticket, 40 over in a 80 plus zone, but I think taking your license away and impounding your car is a good way because 40 over is inexcusable. So 150 kilometers an hour anywhere is stunt driving. That means that if you're in a 110 kilometer an hour zone and you do 40 over, you are stunt driving if you're doing 150. Okay, just so that's all on the table. Then if you are making if you're losing traction intentionally on a turn, so that it would be drifting or donuts, that is by definition stunt driving. If you are causing any wheel to come off the ground, stunt driving. Wheelies on a motorcycle, stunt driving. If you are traveling with somebody in your trunk, stunt driving. Now, oddly enough, I was at 43 Division. We were talking to some new drivers, really new, like they're going for their G1, and my buddy was talking about the fact that he was cautioned once for riding in the back of a pickup truck because it could be stunt driving. And then we started talking about whether or not the bed of a pickup truck is a trunk because the law says trunk. This is where wording matters. So is the bed of a pickup truck a trunk? I don't think it is. I don't think that's stunt driving, even though it's illegal. I think it's a seatbelt charge and a charge to the driver possibly for something. But I don't know if it's trunk. It's questionable. It's all wordy stuff. But if they were actually in the trunk, stunt driving. And you're like, well, but I was only doing 20 kilometers an hour. Still qualifies for stunt. Driving without the driver being in the driver's seat. Stunt. Jackrabbit start, where the red light turns green, and you hit the gas to turn left in front of oncoming traffic before they've had a chance to move. Stunt driving. Like there's so many ways to be stunt driving. Let's see here. Yes. Got you. So clarifying legal versus a speeding ticket. But yeah. So what's the right way to get people to change their behavior? I think the stunt driving laws are fantastic because it's serious. It goes to how serious it is because people engage. Like there was this, and then of course racing, competing, marked departure, other ways to trigger stunt driving. But I remember a collision where these vehicles were racing on a city street, and there were 3 of them involved, and 2 of them got through an intersection. The third one lost control, hit a bus shelter where the guy was sitting waiting for the bus, and then that person lost both their legs. Stunt driving, not okay. Speeding, not okay. Totally preventable collisions. It was just stupid people doing stupid things. And I can't say that they were anything other than stupid because that was stupid and it cost a guy his legs. He's lucky to be alive. Bannock says, did I call you Bangkok before? It was Bannock. As makes vehicles. I don't know what the rest of that thought is, but let me scroll back and see if it's, no, I don't see it. Okay. Scrolling down, catching up. Can I drive on the highway with a G2? Yeah, G2 will let you drive anywhere, but there's conditions. No alcohol at all. And between midnight and 5 a.m. in the first year, there are conditions. And it changes based on your age. So if you're over 20, the condition doesn't exist. And that's what with the number of people you can have in your vehicle after midnight. Excuse me, other than immediate family. 9 times out of 10 I win says, you must be kidding. Right amount of corrupt cops in Ottawa is mind-boggling, they said. Right? Oh, right? The amount of I don't know. First of all, I can't speak to corrupt anything. I've not seen corruption in policing. I may not agree with everybody does and how they deal with things on the road, but that doesn't make them corrupt. If they're employing the law as it's written and evenly amongst all, I don't know how you do that. If you're saying they're actually corrupt and they're taking bribes and they're breaking laws, that's different. Nobody hates a bad cop more than a good cop. And I mean that the good cops don't like bad cops and they work actively to report them and get them out. They shouldn't be wearing uniforms. They're an embarrassment. Go away. I just want to make this another language, but go away and okay is the username. And now that they told me what it is, I can't stop saying it. Why would lane filtering be illegal? It seems like a fairly safe option in some cases. It's in situations where it could be done safely. I don't think it is an issue. It is illegal technically, but would you be harassed for it? No, probably not. Depends on the officer, but it is illegal by virtue of the fact that you are driving between other vehicles. And if it's done in an unsafe way, which is generally speaking lane filtering and lane splitting, I get it if you're just trying to move up a couple car lengths so you're not the bumper for the guy who's on his phone. I get it. But if you're just cutting through to get to the next pack of traffic so you can beat everybody and hit the gas on the green, then it's a problem. Ali says, thanks. Yesterday was a sunny day and motorcycles were crazy on the highway. Oh my God, the noise from modified motorcycles and cars that is coming out now, just ridiculous. So noisy, obnoxious. There was a guy in what kind of car was it? I was driving out to Hamilton, and the loudest, most, I heard that car a kilometer away after it passed me. Just ridiculous. Let's see here. Laj, you're absolutely correct regarding police officers being handcuffed by systems. Yeah. Lulu says, can you talk about passing on the right, not paved, when a car ahead is waiting to turn left? Well, many people think that not being allowed to pass is a thing everywhere. So if you're on the highway, you're on a multi-lane road, and you want to go faster than the person in the left lane who is, whether they're speeding or not speeding or under the speed limit, you can change lanes and continue at the appropriate legal rate of speed beyond them. In other words, you're passing them, but you're not what the law is talking about. The law written about passing or not being able to pass on the right is specifically talking about roads where, let's say it's two lanes, one north, one south, and the person in front of you is slowing or stopped to make a left turn. If there's a shoulder that is paved, you can legally pass, assuming it's safe to do so, on the right using the shoulder. If it's a gravel shoulder, it's not legal. And you can't just pass on the right. It has to be that the person is slowing or stopped to make a left turn. I hope that covers what you're asking. Tarvindran says a millionaire couldn't care less about a $100 ticket. And, well, I don't know whether or not they would or not. But I like the Scandinavian response to tickets, which is making it a percentage of their income. So there's a $100,000 ticket for you, millionaire, versus somebody else who would get a $50 ticket or a $100 ticket. They are doing it in other countries, and I think that would actually be an excellent way to prohibit people from or encourage people not to break the law. 4 kids in a Porsche says, if we had differentiated penalties for speeding, should we have 2 tiers for cell phone use? Surely stopped at a light using a cell phone versus highway is different risk. I like the cell phone charges at $615 and for using it, because whether you're using it at a red light or you're using it on the road, it's not legal. So why do we have to nitpick and find different ways of approaching it? But the differentiate, so see, the difference is, and I think you're trying to say then we should for someone who's using their cell phone on the highway, give them the same equivalent of a stunt driving, or as opposed to, and we should have lower penalty. I don't see that. Impaired driving and distracted driving have very similar results on our road. Major serious collisions, and you're putting lives at risk in a very different way, from distraction, from inattention, from weaving, from it's so ridiculously dangerous. I definitely like the fact that we've gone from 125 and no points to 615 with I think 7 points in the second, 3 points and 3 days suspension on the first, and 7 day on the second conviction. Escalating measures. I think we should start impounding vehicles for cell phone use, just like we do it for the folks who are stunt driving. But it's just, speeding is serious, and it kills. So I don't know why we need. I certainly don't think we need to give anybody a lesser offense for speeding. Nor do I think we should be giving lesser offenses for handheld communication device. So I'm probably not taking that in the way. I need to know more about how you would suggest deploying this, but I think we should just maybe block cell phone use from cars. You can't start it until you plug it in. Roundabouts are split into 4 segments from Squeegee Boy. Okay. Let's see. Oh, we're talking about, okay. Yeah, 40 is not okay for a roundabout. At least not for the small ones. The giant ones might be. Ray's Traveler says, most traffic circles are 2 lanes in Nova Scotia. Paint is completely wore off. That is possible. But if you know what you're doing, it doesn't cause a problem. But and where I am, they actually put like a pottery barn in the center, and you got no visibility. It is scary to cross the road. In my community at a roundabout, there's no visibility, and you're guessing that the car that is already speeding on the road coming up to you is going to actually see you. until the last minute. And I watched it all the time. I stopped for a family crossing the street yesterday. They were shocked. And then as they were crossing, they were like looking down through the trees of the center island of the roundabout to see if the other car could come. And they didn't, that car did not notice they were there until they had already cornered at speed the roundabout. It was pretty gross because they had to, you could tell the twist of the vehicle as it was trying to brake. It was pretty crappy. Okay. Wade Hahn says, I slow down and stay aware. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. And I lose my mind. Yes, can't. I can't stand it. It's so funny. Jake from State Farm says, Sean, if you're caught on the phone, does the 2-day suspension happen roadside or in court? It happens in court. And I believe it's 3 days on the first conviction, but it happens in court after conviction. And I'd like to see it be a roadside. I think it should be administrative immediately because people are now getting to the point where they are getting, they're not even getting suspended or not even being convicted for it. They're pleading down to lesser offenses, which don't really exist. So I heard the trend is that they plead down to an offense called start from stop, not in safety, which is ridiculous. If you're going to do the thing, you can't control your addiction with your device, then you shouldn't have a device or your license, one or the other. And Suzanne says, and the volume of traffic is significantly more now than years gone by. And that's talking about the speed limits, I imagine, in the comparison to the 70s. I don't disagree. Okay. Lodge says, it only gives me 3 sentences per message. Yes, but if you came over to YouTube, you could write a book. Actually, LinkedIn is the largest number of characters permitted into the stream. Law should make videos to constantly educate drivers. I'm doing that. If you're working on getting your license, I'm doing a series where I'm reading the driver's handbook. That's this magical little book that's boring right here. Yeah, I'm reading that. Actually, I should say I've been reading it. Now I'm going to be using ChatGPT. I say ChatGPT. AI. All AI is ChatGPT to me because that's the one I use the most. But I'm using an AI avatar system. I'm going to be trying to get through because it's taking me a lot of time to read it myself. So I'm going to have AI read it, and I'm going to be doing commentary. We're going to try and get through it a lot faster. And if I can get to 1,000 followers on YouTube, I will be releasing it in all the different languages. I say all, about 30 different languages. But I got to get followers on there so I know that it's going to get out because I'm doing all the work. I want to make sure there's people there to see it. So if you go to YouTube, VoiceOver Cop, and you want to see it in other languages, we're talking so many languages. If you know people who need help getting their license, and I don't mean like help by way of cheating, I mean help by way of learning. Okay. Rarley, I don't know how to say your name. If I saw a careless driver on the highway, do I call 911 or just leave them be? Well, I can tell you that depending on what you're seeing, it could be the marker of someone who is drunk, high. That could be something that is a 911 call, depending on what you're seeing. But what is careless driving? Are they weaving? Are they on the phone? The reality is, if you call the average complaint in, police aren't coming or aren't going to be coming in such a with urgency to get there before that driver is gone. But if it's someone who's an impaired driver and they're all over the place, that is an immediate risk to public safety, and that is a 911 call. So it depends on what you're seeing and how you feel. If it's just someone who like cut someone off, that's not a call to police, in my opinion. That's someone who is lucky that they made that dangerous maneuver, and that's where it ends. However, if it's something where it's a consistent and ongoing issue that's clear and present danger, which was also a very good movie, you call 911, and then you can follow at a distance until you're given direction otherwise. If that and you do what's safe for you and what you feel comfortable with, but there is risk for you as well. Be anywhere near them. Lulu says, explain pass on shoulder. We talked about that. Suzanne says, unless you fund for enforcement or higher limits, does saving time make the risks worth it? Yeah. Speeding does not, there is no benefit. There is no reason to speed. All you need to do is leave early. Plan your day. Jake from State Farm says, okay, we talked about that. Boneless Cody V2 says, nope, sorry, but I'm not stopping. Same charge. What are you talking about? What's the same charge? Not following what you're alleging. But they are very brave. They said, bro, you retired, go to bed. Y'all not catching us. Been there, done that. You haven't caught us. Okay, bonehead, not boneless Cody. Yeah, I'm not a cop anymore. I don't do enforcement. I do educational stuff. And if you think that you are smart and you don't need to be here, then just go away. This is for people who want to know stuff and want to discuss things like grown-ups do. So, bye-bye. Chubby Girl says, I think going through yellow lights on a school bus should be a ticket when you're coming from behind. So, yellow lights are actually when you're allowed to go through. Red lights you're not allowed to go through. Yellow lights are to signify that the vehicle is about to stop. It used to be in Ontario that the red flashing lights while the vehicle was moving allowed you to continue passing, and then you couldn't pass once the vehicle stopped, and that was the differentiation. It was confusing. We were the only province that still had that one-stage light system. We have all gone. The entire country has gone to two-stage lights. Yellow meaning you can pass, but take caution because it's going to stop. And once it stops, you can't pass. Angel says, if you're driving on a posted 90 kilometer an hour zone, is going 5 over. Sorry, if you're going on a posted 90, is it okay to go 5 over as it's keeping with the flow of traffic? Well, it's breaking the law. 5 over is against the law. Is it okay? No, it's technically not. You're breaking the law. Will you get charged for it? Maybe not. And yeah, it's still speeding. Thanks, Race Traveler. Appreciate you. Boneless Cody says that their top speed was 313 kilometers. They say everybody hates cops, and lane filtering isn't illegal. It's a gray area, but nice try. No, Boneless Cody, it's illegal. And I'm just showing that you don't know what you're talking about. It's okay. Greg Marshall jumped in and said, Boneless Cody, it's stunt driving. Yeah, absolutely. Joshua Maloney jumped in there asking, why are you here? Much appreciated, everyone. Fifth Gen says, but a millionaire is always, hang on a second. Where did we go? We lost it. Where'd it go? But a millionaire is always hiding their money, so the percentage will not work. What do you think of Alberta's ban on photo radar on highways? So the ban was, they originally got rid of like the ring road stuff, and then they brought it back, and then they got rid of it to only school zones, I think is the most recent. The problem is, they went out and did it to a private company to manage it for them. And then secondly, they've seen an increase in collisions. Is my understanding. I recall reading an article that said when they got rid of the photo radar, they saw an uptick in collisions. So Cassandra says, why are you here? Talking to Cody. I love it when the community jumps down the throats of the people who are disruptive. B58 says, Peel announced they are charging everyone in car meets now on. Oh, really? So he says they've announced that they're going to charge everyone in a car meet with public nuisance. This is unfair, especially for us that have park and chills. Believe it's against our charter rights and freedoms and freedom of expression. You know, I have mixed emotions. If you are a group of people who are attending a parking lot to hang out, to have coffee, you're all going to Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is a public place. It's the problem is that it invites a certain element that is lawless, that is not being lawful. I would go to Peel and discuss things. I would go I would go. Actually, maybe I should go and talk to different police services to get their take on it. But my thing is, if you're talking about having 100 cars show up into a parking lot, could you be trespassing? Yeah. That's a different situation than 5, 10, even 15 people going to Tim Hortons and occupying the parking lot. Now, if you're occupying the parking lot and your customers, it's okay. But if you're just hanging out, I mean, it's not. It all depends. But I used to go. I used to go to motorcycle meetups. Like that was my thing. That was my bag. Sebastian T says, do you guys chase bikes? So generally speaking, bikes are not something that police chase because the biker tends to get hurt and they become responsible. And that's not a good thing. I have chased. I have, pulled over. And the big thing is there's nothing faster than a radio. So if we can identify the bike, we simply meet it somewhere, like where they're going, their registered address, that type of thing. But chasing is generally a bad idea. Public safety is most important. Sam wants to know, why do we have to pay HST on used vehicles? They already had tax collected on the first time. Because government is awesome. I'm not a fan of taxes on taxed Things that, how do you tax something 10 times? I don't get it. You've already paid tax on the money you earned. Why should you pay tax when you buy something? I mean, this is a question that everyone asks. Ali says, people who hate the cops are generally people who are doing something illegal. I agree. Kids, 4 kids in a Porsche says, maybe I've distracted driving according to speed, not just one size fits all. But why? Why should anyone be able to drive distracted? And driving while sitting, you're still driving if you're behind the wheel of a car at an intersection. You're not paying attention to the vehicle behind you. You're not paying attention to the pedestrian who may not be in your vision because you're staring at a phone, and then you start moving. You haven't been paying attention to your surroundings. Driving's a full-time gig. Police shouldn't be a judge and jury. Police are not a judge and jury. Police are laying charges, making an allegation based on their observations, and the justice of the peace in the province of Ontario is going to be the trier of fact, the independent trier of fact that determines whether you're convicted or not. And Tram Traveler says they're not. They apply the law, and justice of the peace decides the outcome. Police put the wheels of justice in motion. Defendants are the catalyst. Beautifully said, Tram Traveler. If suspensions start immediately versus waiting for a right to defend, they become judge and jury. Well, the problem is, and this is where the administrative penalties come in, so many people manipulate the system in court. They never, ever get the consequences. That's why the impaired driving charges occur immediately, where you get a suspension upon charge as opposed to upon conviction. It's why the stunt driving charges, because they're generally pled down and they never get the consequences. It's happening now. You have to have a consequence now. You can't just hire a good lawyer and put it off into the future because you don't learn the lesson. There has to be a consequence now. And is it judge and jury? I guess based on the fact that there are charges laid, I see your perspective, but I still think it's an important thing. And I don't think that there should be any, could it be abused? Yes. Has it been abused? I don't believe so. 4 kids in a Porsche says, appreciate the education, always learn something. I appreciate you. I appreciate these conversations, even though they seem like we're arguing to some degree. We're not. We're discussing our perspectives. We're having civil conversation. It's great. Let's see here. I advocate for immediate suspensions because I think people do not change behavior based on what they could plead down or maneuver or pay their way out of. It has to be a line in the sand. And maybe it should be a heavier line in the sand for everything, because that would work for me. We have to do something to make it safer on the road. We're losing too many people, and any life lost is too many. Okay. What do we got here? Ale says, what's your dream car? My dream car? I don't really have a dream car. I don't get excited over cars anymore. I mean, I like cars, but I don't fit in any of them. So I'm too tall, I'm too big, and I find that the Hummer H1 has always been my favorite car, my favorite vehicle. Can't call it a car. It's not even a great car. I just like it. It's beefy. I like it. An armored vehicle like there's a South African armored vehicle that you like. I need a ladder to get in. It would be amazing. I used to love Porsches. Much appreciation for those. I can't fit in them. I wanted a 911. My whole childhood, 911 was my dream vehicle. What is this? Okay. Cassandra is alleging that none of the guys who are actually parking and chilling, that no one's actually parking and chilling, that people are up to no good. So I don't know. There are people who actually do it, but who actually chill. And then there's people who are attracted to that event and will cause problems. Okay. B58 says, threatening citizens, scaring them is not a solution to public engagement. Well, I think they tried for years to do it nice. And the problem is it's not being effective. So because it is a continuing problem, escalating the measure to the point where they're saying, listen, if you do it, we're done being nice. We've tried 5 years since COVID. However many years we determine that is, because everyone has a different counter on that. Since the end of COVID, we've seen an incredible increase in the number of stunt driving and serious fatalities and driving behaviors that lead to serious collisions. How many times do you ask nicely before you start making serious strides to change behavior? Like I've been doing education for 5 years, more. I can educate someone and they still have decision-making time to do what they want to do. And that could lead to bad things. Doesn't always work. We try. Okay. Oh my goodness. An hour and a half instead of an hour. Okay. Question from Michaela. Try one more time, pressing that button. At a signalized intersection with a right turn channel, if turning right and you miss the channel or decided to turn after it, can you turn at the intersection itself? Well, technically speaking, you're making an improper turn if you're turning from a straight through intersection. It depends on the way it's designed. Like if there was a cutout and you're at the intersection, you make a right turn, you go from the right curb lane at that point to the right curb. I don't think it's against the law. I wouldn't. It may not be the safest or best maneuver, but it's not technically breaking the law. It's not a no turn lane unless it's posted. That's my take on it. What is this? So if I have a G2, I can't drive after midnight. Sean, are we human beings, not gremlins? No, you can. G2 drivers can drive after midnight. G1 drivers can't. Between midnight and 5 a.m., G1 drivers are not permitted to operate a motor vehicle. However, G2 drivers can, but the number of occupants under the age of 20 are limited. Yes, that's a thing. The McNally 007, I'm clicking on your comment like it's going to show up on the screen, but TikTok doesn't do that. Don't ask me why I'm doing that. The McNally says, so you think police officers should be paid more? Absolutely, they should be paid more. They should be able to be paid appropriately. And many people think they're paid too much, but they're not. They're not only are they risking their lives every single shift, they're working like animals, call to call, nonstop. They're understaffed. They're doing the work of multiple officers because we don't have enough. So they, instead of having downtime and reasonable breaks, they're really not getting them. But aside from that, they are technical specialists. They know how to do stuff and things that nobody else can do. You got to pay for that. And when you think about inflation, they're not being paid a tremendous amount more than they were being paid 50 years ago. The numbers look good on paper, but the buying power of the money they're being given is not very much different than what they had many, many years ago. So, yeah, I think they should be paid more. Okay. Frank Alfano says, the issue with DLS suspensions, that's according to Mag Swiftness, the Court of Appeal held out what is this? The issue with DLS suspensions, driver's license suspensions, according to Mag Swiftness, Court of Appeal held out a did breach. So you're saying out that the administrative suspensions are a breach? I think they're effective and I think they're appropriate, but that's my opinion. What else we got? Okay. Game Freak says, Sean, I appreciate the work you're doing. Keep up the great work on educating people that forget the rules of the road. Thanks very much. Autobiel says, love your podcast. So informative. Thanks so much. Speaking of podcasts, and thank you, Autobiel. But speaking of podcasts, you can actually download the audio version of this on your favorite podcast app. Because after I finish doing my thing, I save it and then I upload it to the other platforms so you can synchronize it, listen on the go. So if you can't be with us live, you can always catch up when you're driving and do it without breaking the law or burning your data. Okay. UB Zen says, going 40 in a 40-kilometer zone on the fattest part. I'm not picking up what you're putting down. 40, if you're going 40 in a 40, that is what you're supposed to be doing. That's the speed limit. Police officers should be paid minimum $200,000 a year. Graham, I'd go back. I'd go back for $200,000 a year. And there are officers who make $200,000 a year, but they give up their entire lives. All their off duty has gone back into overtime, paid duty. But we have people who have our coppers are doing overtime, mandatory overtime all the time. It's hard. It's hard to have a family. Gurr wants to know if it's true that police officers have to meet quotas on tickets and stuff. No. I mean, they have to work. You can't just go to Tim Hortons and pick your nose. You have to go out and work. And if you're a traffic officer or if you're an officer who's not engaged in going to radio calls, you got to be doing something. You have to justify your time. Everything you do is measured. It doesn't mean that you have to do 50 tickets in a day, but if you have nothing to do something. Be proactive. And that could be going to a community center and talking to kids. It doesn't have to be tickets, but you have to do something. You're being paid for your time. But Greg Marshall jumped in there and said, no, it's not true that police officers have quotas. And Greg Marshall is absolutely correct. UV says, speed camera flashed, who will get a ticket? Whoever was breaking the law. And actually, maybe nobody, because they're reviewed by humans. And that's a thing. It depends on if the review results in a confirmation that an offense was committed. Cassandra says, is there any law as to having a minor on the motorcycle with you in front or behind? Well, you definitely can't have one in front on a motorcycle. The deal is that a minor or a person, how about this? A passenger must have a proper helmet and must be capable of sitting in the passenger position with their feet firmly planted on the passenger pegs. Nothing to do with age, nothing to do with weight. Proper fitting helmet, feet on the pegs. That's the requirement. They talked about having a requirement for the age, but they got rid of it. They couldn't get it through. Ali wants to know what the name of the podcast is. Same as this, Ask a Traffic Cop. You can search Ask a Traffic Cop, and you can search the now rebooted. We now have one episode in the can and posted of Traffic Jam. But it's so there's two that you can follow. It's if you search for Ask a Traffic Cop and Traffic Jam, or you should be able to look at VoiceOver Cop as well. But have a look, see what you can find. I have links to it all at trafficcop.ca. Actually, make life a lot easier for you. It's on Spotify. It's on Apple Podcast. You can find it. Daily Q says, question, can I go around a bus stopped at the intersection blocking me from making my right turn? Well, you shouldn't be making an improper turn. If the vehicle was disabled, I would say that would be articulable. You could justify it. But generally speaking, no. In most situations, you can't. What you need to do is either duck into the lane in front of the bus, because they generally don't service the lane at the bus or at the intersection. It's usually a car length or two behind. So if you could maneuver in front of the bus, you would be able to do that safely. Would be okay. But everything has to be done safely. Is changing lanes in an intersection illegal? It's not illegal. It is unsafe. I often describe it like this. The intersection is like the stage of a play, and everyone has parts. And if they, enter the stage at the right time and they say their lines, they get off the stage when they're supposed to, everything goes smoothly. But if people do things and zig when they should have zagged, and the other party is not ready or prepared and expecting you to do that, well, they make their move, and those moves collide, and then you have calamity. Not a good thing. So it's not illegal, but if it leads to a collision, you will be the person at fault. Kids in a Porsche says, agree. Police officers should be paid 2 times the current. I absolutely agree. Smelly Boy's mom, how's it going? TPS Bike Card, how are you? Let's see here. 4 kids in a Porsche says, if you came back with no tickets for a few days straight, questions would be asked. This could be argued as a quota. Well, no, because there are people who, for their entire career, don't write tickets. Other than they wrote tickets when they had to, when they were learning how to write tickets, and then they've spent their entire career in a major crime unit. They don't write tickets. They've done, like, tickets are not a thing. They're not measured. They're measured if they're recorded. But I'll give you an example. I went out and I did enforcement, specifically targeted enforcement in one area where they know tickets are going to happen. If I came back with no tickets after spending an entire day doing enforcement, but I couldn't find one ticket to write, my supervisor would say, what were you doing with your time? And I would have a hard time explaining that I was there watching people break the law and chose not to write tickets. That is different than saying I have a quota. I'm expected to do a job and do it properly because I'm a trained professional. And if you tell me to go enforce this particular offense that's happening all day long, that's why it's a problem. It's happening. And if you choose not to enforce it because you were having a nap, that's a problem. That's not a quota. That's not doing your job. If I went and I pulled the first person over and they had a laundry list of warrants and charges and things, and that took me 8 hours, that's what I did for the day. But it's all documented. Everything I do is documented. My case is there, my arrest is there, my charges, or one charge. I can have one charge, but it could be very difficult because of the person that had information that had to involve calling multiple police agencies in different jurisdictions. Like, whatever I did is going to be recorded, but it's not a quota. It's just doing your job. And patrol, yeah, if I get sent, you're saying patrol. So let's say patrol. So I go call to call to call. Tickets are not a thing because I'm going to domestic violence calls. I'm going to robbery calls. There's no tickets there. I could do that for a month, a year, a decade. If I'm going to call to call to call, the result could be arrests or just notes. Like there's so many things that tickets aren't a thing. It's not a thing. But I get what you're saying. If I got in trouble for not doing tickets, but it's not the same thing. I hear what you're saying, but it's not the same thing. Okay, daily question. We talked about that. Oh, okay. Can speed cameras recognize which vehicle was speeding in a 3-lane full of cars? Which I don't believe that speed cameras are in 3-lane scenarios, but depending on the technology, they must be able to. Like they have to be able to identify. But I am not a automated enforcement specialist. I just think that should be more of it. So I don't know how it identifies which vehicle. I just couldn't tell you. I don't know. Allie, thank you again for the gifts. Cassandra says, so if Waze is tipping off drivers, aren't the police aware and seeing Waze themselves? I used to think it was a major famous marking. Oh, it said I'm here. I'm famous. I made it to Waze. I used to have a lot of fun with that. How do you justify your time while waiting for speeders? Isn't it possible to have a day nobody speeds? If so, how do you justify your time for that? If no one's speeding, I'm picking the wrong spot. I'm leaving that location and going somewhere else. I'm going to note that I arrived. I'm reviewing. I would then mark and say, I'm leaving. I'm going somewhere else. And if I did that and there was nowhere to find anything wrong with any vehicle, there's a problem. But it is what it is. Like, yeah, I find it hard to believe that I wouldn't find a speeder. Then it becomes your threshold. Are you not writing any tickets because you didn't find someone doing 50 over? So if that would mean if I found someone doing 20 over, I'd write the ticket. Like, I pulled people over in a 60 zone. I would pull over and charge people doing 15 over. You know why? That's 25% over the posted speed limit. Okay. Who you voting for? That's from IREP Scotia 902. I'm voting for someone who represents my values. Yeah, I don't want to get into politics, but I'm a former police officer. What do you think? Most police officers would vote a certain way. The law and order people. Oh, what button did I press here? How long do you wait? And I forgot to take the initial Rizzy off. It depends. It's there's no specific. It's your day is yours. You do how you think is appropriate, or until someone calls you for something, or until it's lunch. Like it's whatever. It's all whatever you do. Everyone's going to do it differently. You're moving. Another wonderful person who says, "Nah, the police are dumb. They don't do anything about Waze." I actively watched Waze, and I used to always report that I wasn't there, so it was fun. And I always run Waze on when I'm going 150. They really don't care. Your movement's an idiot. They do, but just because they didn't catch you, yeah, it doesn't mean they won't catch you eventually. So one police officer can't remove their own report. No, it's based on averages, but it's irrelevant. Like, not everybody's on Waze. So if 1 in 10 cars is on Waze and they slow down and don't get caught. But the truth is, it's never really been a big deal. I always send reports that are contrary to police activity. Well, that's not true. If they're actually working on a collision, I support them. But if they're doing enforcement, I always say they're not there. Mike says, why can't a ghost car have all blacked out windows and the average citizen can't? Well, they can't have all blacked out windows. That's not legit. That's not legal. Is there a web page to look up traffic laws? The Ontario Highway Traffic Act is in its entirety is available online for free. Just look it up. Ontario HTA, you can find the Ontario site. It's not exactly fun to read, but it is there. Let's see here. Your movement says they have 5% tint all around. They've never been bothered. If you have 5% tint, meaning 95% light is blocked, then you should have your license plates pulled and you should get an unsafe motor vehicle charge and towed away. Samuel Berard says, no, the media police, aha. What? Okay. Greg Marshall, OPP Huntsville made light of the fact that they were on Waze and still catching speeder. 100%. Your moving says 60 to 50 is the greatest scam of all time. Nobody ever died going 10 over. That's not true. Pedestrians have been killed. And because the speed in which you hit someone changes the actual amount of energy transferred into the person, yeah, people have. Bicycles colliding have resulted in fatalities. Just the fact you don't understand or know this doesn't mean it's not accurate. Well, your statement's inaccurate. Plav Boy DJ says, if I have green fog lights, would I get a ticket for it? Yeah, you're not allowed to have green light to the front. You're allowed to have white or amber. Okay. If you were going to be hit going 60, you're still going to be hit going 50. But there's less energy transferred into the body. You're moving, you're wrong. That's why we reduce speeds to 30 too. 30 kilometers an hour. You got a go-to song for do you have a go-to song to play when you're on the road? Usually listening to a podcast, but I still hear Life is a Highway, whenever I think of a driving song. Shomaran says, follow, thanks for the follow. How far in advance does a neighborhood speed camera record how many meters? It's after you pass them, not before. If I was given traffic tickets without fines but a court date, is that a bad sign? Yeah, Josh, that's a bad sign. That's called a 104. It's a part 3. It is a no set fine situation, which means you're looking at higher fines and consequences. What was the charge, Josh? I'd like to know. Because stunt driving would be a no set fine, which has a range of $2,000 to $10,000 for the first conviction. If you're getting even tinted windows or actually any offense could be pushed to a 104. It just gives it up to $1,000 instead of a fixed $110 or $200, kind of situation. A Waters says, I usually go about 10 over. Let's be real. I know I'm speeding. Would a cop pull me over for it? Depends on the cop. Depends on the scenario. If you're doing 10 over in a 30 zone, yeah. If you're doing 10 over in a 100 zone, probably not. Autobiel says, can you drive without a front license plate? Some of my clients don't want holes in the front bumper. Legally in Ontario, no, you cannot. It's $110 for failure to display 2 plates, and the plates cannot be displayed in the front windshield. So I would tell your clients to invest in a tow hook adapter. In fact, as a side business for you, I would make tow hook adapters something that you offer before you even deliver the car. But they also can't have Autobiel license plate frames. Those by definition are also prohibited. You can't have anything over the license plate in any way, shape, or form, whether it be a full lens or just a border. Graham says, I'm 18 and I'm thinking about joining either Toronto Police or Ontario Provincial Police. Any tips? Big thing is stay clean, driving record clean. Obviously, don't get into trouble doing anything. Stay healthy, keep learning, volunteer like crazy, and do it because you love to volunteer and serve the community, not just because you want to try and get hired. That's a thing. People who do it just to punch a box and say that they have their volunteer numbers up, it looks like that. Also, go to websites like tps.ca/careers. Read everything you could possibly find out, not only on the employment side, like obviously familiarize yourself with the requirements and what the expectations are of you as a police officer once you're hired, what the education process is. Like, look at all these things, but that's just a start. Read up on the entire service. Read up about what? Hang on a second. Read up on everything. And since we're here, know that there's other ways to serve. If you don't qualify for police officer now, maybe look at parking enforcement. Maybe look at other roles, because once you're in, you're in. Okay, let's look at civilian roles. Let's see what's currently available. Senior project manager, facilities management, YIPI program, intermediate programmer, analyst, and communications operator. All really good opportunities. The youth and policing is for students. It's a part-time after-school fall program, $17.20 an hour, where you can learn about policing and help in all sorts of ways. It's a great way to start. And a number of yippies have become police officers later on in their lives. Bad Boys, Bad Boys. There you go. That's Cassandra, the go-to song. And at 18, by the way, Graham, you got lots of time. Just focus on your education, your fitness and your studying. Bat Out of Hell, when Greg's on his motorcycle, also great. Some Meatloaf. Okay, scrolling back here. This is great. I'm enjoying the loads of questions and interaction. Four Kids in a Porsche says maybe it should be illegal to misreport police locations on Waze. Well, Waze is a way of limiting speed, not breaking the law. You should want to limit speed, not issue tickets. No, I don't want to. So this is the same thing as radar detectors. I don't want to stop someone who speeds from speeding temporarily. I want them to not speed. I don't want them to slow down for the police officers so they don't get caught and then speed up as soon as they pass them. I want them to have a life-changing moment, a ticket that they hate getting, that they think twice next time they want to push down on the gas. The goal is to change behavior, not to make money. The goal is to change behavior, not to temporarily reduce the speed. It's about making permanent changes in your behavior. That's the goal of a ticket. It's like when you, I'm going to equate it to training your dog. Dog pees, you rub the dog's nose on it. He goes, I don't like this. And maybe he won't pee again. in the same spot. Maybe he'll pee somewhere else. But the goal is to change the behavior. Tickets are supposed to hurt. They're supposed to suck. They're supposed to not feel good. And the goal is to change the behavior going forward. So yeah, like radar detectors, people slow down temporarily. As soon as the radar detector stops alerting, they start speeding again. They're still dangerous drivers. They're still putting lives at risk. And 4 Kids in a Porsche says the irony is they sell the license plate covers at Service Ontario locations, not the private ones. They shouldn't. We've talked about this a lot over the last number of years. They have no business selling those things. I agree with you. It's ridiculous. And I'll tell you, 9 times out of 10, people are getting warnings or being told to remove them. And I would go and complain. For everyone who buys one of those crappy license plate covers, go and either return it or yell at the people at the thing. They should not be selling it. Whenever I go into one, I tell them. It's not illegal to sell. That's the one thing. It's only illegal to use on the road. Burr says, how likely is it for you to get out of a ticket if you were following the flow of traffic on the highway? If you were speeding, you were speeding, you were speeding. It doesn't matter. When you go to court, you're going to say, I was following the flow of traffic as I was speeding, and you're guilty. You will be convicted. Captain says, hi, Sean. If there are multiple right turn lanes, which one is allowed to turn right on a red? Unless signed otherwise, all of them. Multiple right turn lanes at an intersection, usually exiting a highway, allows for both of them if it's safe to do so. But you have to turn into the appropriate lane. So right the curb lane to the curb lane, the one to its left to the one to its left on the following street. You have to go into the appropriate lane. And again, it has to be safe. Gura is correct when he said, I believe all of them. Devinder, thank you for the follow. Josh says, I was driving my friend's vehicle that wasn't registered and he had his other plates on it. So used plates not for that vehicle. That's a serious charge. Why are police not charging folks with peeling license plates? That's Carrie Ann asking the question. And the answer is they are, but they're not focused on it. They're focusing on the big four. The driving behavior that leads to serious injury and death is what they're focused on. So we're talking about aggressive driving, distracted driving, obviously speeding, impaired driving, even seatbelts. But the license plates, they become, lower on the priority list. And for good reason. Now, if you're pulled over for one of those, you're probably getting the license plate ticket as well. But they're not hunting and focusing on license plates. Oh, and Josh also had an invalid license. So you were driving without a license. See, once you break one law that goes into no fixed fine, then all of your charges are going to be under the same case. So they'll all become 103s, 104s, I should say. Oh, go away. Okay, says Autobiel, or says to Autobiel, car broker. Autobiel is the car broker. That's the username. My friend takes the fine and calls it his cool tax for his car for having no front plate. Here's the thing about the no front plate that people don't know. It's $110 for failing to display 2 plates. However, when I see a history of that charge, I will lay it on the part 3, the 104. Go to court and explain to the court why you don't follow the law and why the ticket should be up to a maximum of $1,000, because that's what happens when you go with your cool tax subscription method concept. Send it to court, and then eventually you'll be sending more. Autobiel says, I tell them they have to have a front plate or the dealership will not deliver the car. Good call. Your movement says, why are police not focusing on illegal criminals who rob and steal cars but harass legal drivers? They don't harass legal drivers. They pull people over who are illegal. They're breaking the law. They don't pull people over doing lawful stuff. Come on. That's the whole point. Everything we're talking about here is the laws, the rules. If you break the rules, you are not a legal driver. You are illegal or breaking the law. But why aren't police focusing on criminals? They are. But you have to understand there's different elements of policing. So the average police officer is going to 911 calls, priority calls. But there are traffic officers who focus on traffic investigations, and in between collision investigations, they are proactively trying to prevent collisions by way of enforcing laws. Yes. Four kids in a Porsche. I totally appreciate your perspective, but the law is the law is the law until it changes. If they do change it to 120 on the highway, despite the fact that I don't agree with it, then that would be the law. And if you broke that law, I would be suggesting people should be fined very strictly. If they ever do increase it to 120, then I think the threshold for like we should do 1 kilometer over them, because What I don't want is to see people doing 140 and 160 and trying to get away with it in the same way that people are currently doing 120, even though that the speed limit is 100. So I'm okay with changing it if the lawmakers change it, but I think we need absolutely strict lasers from the sky taking your car out if you break it by 1 kilometer. Like, you cannot just keep raising it, saying that it's okay and, you know, people should dictate that it goes faster. I totally appreciate what you're saying. And again, I represent, or used to represent, the law and enforce the law. Well, people don't have an appreciation or a respect for the law now. If you increase it to 120, how do you make them have an appreciation for that law? People are going to just keep breaking it. So sky lasers, that's where it's at. Or at very least cameras. And I think demerit points for the drive or a registered owner, and they can figure out in court who is actually driving the car. Did something I did 8 years ago stop me from becoming a cop? If it was criminal, absolutely. You need to have what the heck's it called? Pardon. And if you have a terrible driving record, it's going to come back to bite you. Where'd my water go? Oh, it's hiding behind my microphone. All right. Cody, thanks for the gift. Appreciate you. Caleb, thanks for the follow. Great username. Is it the we'll just call you Block. Graham wants to know what force I was with, because I've since left policing. I was with the Toronto Police Service. Okay. Mike wants to know if I'm enjoying retirement. I am far from retired, in truth. I'm still working hard, but I'm enjoying my life, being able to help my family, which is why I left the police service. Okay. Does civilian jobs also require permanent residency for students? No, you need a work permit for most jobs, whereas for police, you need to be a permanent resident or a citizen. Okay. What do you think the reason that stunt driving is happening more? I think that people are doing things because they're not getting caught. I don't think we have nearly enough enforcement. We have reduced our numbers. We're probably writing 1/5 of what we used to write. So we don't have enough officers. We are focused on the big stuff. And although I talk about enforcement all the time, the reality is we need to enforce far more to change behavior. Kids in a Porsche says, you strike me as someone who would be okay with government installing speed limiters on cars. People should not be able to break the speed laws. And people who break the speed laws are very often hurting people. So if we can't govern ourselves, if we can't stop breaking the law, if we can't stop seeing fatalities on the road. A couple of years ago, we lost 49 people in Toronto. Like hundreds of people are dying on the roads, hundreds of people. And it's because people are doing dumb stuff behind the wheel. So if you can't be trusted to make good decisions, then I think we take away your right to make those decisions. So yeah, I'm okay with people with like, we don't need cars that go over the speed limit, quite frankly. And we certainly don't need cars that go 300 kilometers an hour. Do I believe that we should have the right to be respected and do the right thing? Yes, right up until the time that you break the law. You want to go on the track with a machine that can go fast? I love it. I love Porsches. I love cars with power. I love driving fast. Take it to the track. If you're doing that on the road, you deserve to lose your license, your privileges. Maybe they should crush your car. We need to change because people are not managing their own choices. They're making bad decisions. And kids and adults and pedestrians and people of all ages and all walks of life are being injured, if not killed. Their lives are changing. What is this? All right. Someone says, "Are you homeless now?" I'm like, "Is that because I have a beard?" I like the beard. I'm doing ZZ Top look. Okay. Okay. What is this? Yeah, Fast and the Furious definitely influence people. They think they're cool when they go fast. Hang on a second here. So I've had enough of hearing from this person today. Okay. Jiwa says, why'd you leave the TPS? I left because I needed to take care of family. It's all about family, family first. Graham says, any complaints about the pension? I actually left before I turned 50, so I technically commuted, thus no pension. Ghost says, I work in insurance. Do cops know that if you don't lose demerit points, it still affects insurance? Talked about this all day long. Actually, I talk about it all day long, but I specifically address it for a long component at the beginning of today's live stream. Yeah, points are for the ministry, nothing to do with insurance. They don't care. Insurance, it's about the conviction. So yeah, although many cops still say, oh, we're going to give you a ticket for no points, it'll be less impactful on your insurance. You do one over, if you get a conviction for speeding, it's still speeding. Okay. Boom, boom, boom. Absolutely. Any ticket will raise your insurance price. That's Ghost making the statement. Devinder says, how much does credit score hurt? Oh, how much does credit score hurt to make through in selection process for constable? If you have bad credit, you're at risk for being like you have money issues. You're at risk for being potentially manipulated or go dirty. Like someone could bribe you with money if you can't pay your bills, and you're at bad risk. Like it does hurt your process. It also suggests you don't follow rules. That's why anything you do that is not right is something that could hurt your process. Unreal Guy 44 says, is having a failure to provide insurance card on an abstract just as bad as a speeding ticket? No, there's different categories for insurance companies as to whether it's a minor, major, or serious offense. So a paper ticket, although if getting a ticket for not having your driver's license on your insurance could hurt you over time. This little conviction saying you don't follow rules. And if you don't follow one rule, what other rules are you not following? But you would need a number of those tickets to classify and convert to something that would be more serious and actually impact your insurance. Could it impact your ability to be a police officer? You can't follow the rules. As minor as carrying an insurance card, then yeah, it could effectively, speak to your ethics and your ability to follow directions. Yeah, Ghost says any ticket, even a 5 over, will raise your insurance 5 to 20% the following year, as it should. You're a risky driver. So if police officers wanted to be heavy-handed, which they're not writing tickets for 5 over, but maybe they should, and people would actually start driving properly. Andy, how's it going? Ashley, thanks for the gift. You're okay. Ghost says, I have 3 brothers who are cops. They didn't know. That's so funny. Well, you know what? Not everybody, a lot of people, that kind of stuff, insurance brokers don't usually come in, or insurance companies don't usually come and do training. I just happen to be a traffic specialist and have had endless conversations with the industry, and I just know stuff and things that others don't, I guess. Hardy says, hey, Sean, I recently just graduated pre-service fire, but I'm looking into policing, just looking for opinions. Well, I will tell you that everyone likes fire, and they have, you get to have naps on duty, sleepovers, cook amazing meals. A lot of people say they wish they would have been firefighters because people actually like you guys. But I love policing. Policing was a great career, and it's a different way of helping. Whatever resonates for you, whatever makes your heart full. But I got to say, very rarely do we get to have naps. You work like a dog in policing. Ghost says some companies don't actually consider failing to provide an insurance card a ticket and don't increase. Really? Okay. The Insurance Bureau of Canada, I had that discussion with them, and they said one wouldn't, but if you had several of them or a number of them, that would classify as a minor. But it all depends on who you're with and what your policies are. It's a private company. Cassandra, you're absolutely right. Having a driver's license is not your right. It's a privilege. It's entitlement. Certified taxpayer, says Doug Ford for PM. Interesting. Wrong party, but he's a provincial conservative, not the federal. But interesting take. All right, with that, I think we're going to dad jokes, and then Nicholas, I didn't mean to completely ignore you, but I've been so busy in the wheelhouse of TikTok today that I've not been giving you the attention. Let's see here. And all right, okay, we got. What is this? Nicholas Rizzi says, true or false? If you sue the police and win, will that person a super hard time for the rest of their lives? I don't know. I don't think it says anywhere that they sued and won. Let's see here. I'm just scrolling through. Talked about that. Talked about this. Talked about that. Just making sure I didn't miss anything important. All right, let's go to the pin stuff. Oh, certified Yapper says, I was just playing raw. Kids in a Porsche, 4 kids in a Porsche says, do you accept photo on phone for driver's license, insurance, or ownership? The only thing in Ontario that you can provide by way of your telephone is an insurance card. And that's not a photo of your insurance card. It's through a secure app of the insurance company. So if the insurance company supports it, they have a secure app, and there's some conditions there. It is very specifically that. Driver's license must be your actual driver's license, although some coppers might say, I totally accept it because I get it, but it's not a law. It doesn't meet the lawful requirements. So if an officer decides to accept it, that's up to them. Ownership must be the original or a photocopy, both sides. Graham says, is it true that cops aren't allowed to have political views publicly? Well, yeah, you can't be supporting. Boy, sitting down for 2 hours hurts my butt. Yeah, you can't go out and support and uniform somebody in office. Yeah, you shouldn't be talking about politics. You can't even carry a bag that has a logo on it. Like the rules and regs say, you have to carry a non-branded bag if you're going to carry a bag, and even then, there's issues with carrying items because you need to have access to your use of force. Tons of rules. Hardy says, funny you say that. Everyone I've talked to says that napping is an absolute benefit, and working out every day and cooking. Yeah. Fire's got some things that are seriously right. Let's see here. Talking about, someone's asking about tint. Billy Ledger 540 says, what is technically the most legal limit for tint? If we're talking about the windows left and right of the driver, 30% light blockage, meaning 70% of light gets through, is the legal limit for safety authorization, meaning you cannot certify a vehicle with more tint than that. That's for the windows left and right of the vehicle. The windows in the rear and the rear windshield or rear window can be it can be black. You can paint it with a paint roller. The windshield in Ontario can't have anything except for vehicles manufactured before 2017. They can have a 3-inch tint strip across the top. Now, you can still be charged for tint-related offenses if your tint is legal. Let me explain. If you have 25%, that's legal for certification, but if I can't see in, whether it's day or night, I can't see in, which means you've obscured the interior of your motor vehicle, which is a Highway Traffic Act offense. $110. Okay. But yes, Gur was absolutely correct. 70% of the light coming through. Autobial says, is a photocopy of ownership in the glove box acceptable? It is, but I prefer it in my wallet because I don't want someone breaking into my car and finding out where I live. So a photocopy of ownership is perfectly legal, but it's always been referred to as a true copy, meaning the document has to be representative of both sides of the document. It used to be because you would put your validation sticker on the back. Whether that's really a big deal now or not, I'm merely telling you how the law reads. True copy, both sides. Hardy says, also my friend got a stunt driving charge for 170 and a 100, but wasn't radar. It was estimated. Absolutely. It is pretty clear that if you're doing 170, you are going leagues beyond that of the actual speed. Now, you said estimated. They just looked at it and said, I think you're doing stunt driving. I mean, they'd have to articulate that in court, but it's pretty. So speeding is a charge laid not because the machine told us a speed. It's based on our estimation of speed confirmed with an electronic device if the device is used, or it's by pacing, so you could lay a charge based on your opinion, which is based on your observations. Trailer Park Guy wants me to talk about care and control possibly. I think that 2 hours and 3 minutes of live stream, I got to cut it short. Care and control, we're talking about impaired, being impaired and being in control of your vehicle. Here's the thing. If you are drunk, if you're under the influence of drugs or alcohol, and you have that car, whether you're inside of it or walking towards it, you could be charged and arrested and charged. Oh, OV Police says, Sean, I got a jar of ghost pepper sauce for you. Right on. Okay. I like hot sauce. I am on a no sugar kick though. So, funny thing, I'm over a month now, no carbs. Well, let me explain. I was intended to be no carbs, but I was using a hot sauce that I love. And I didn't realize it had so much sugar in it. So I basically had no carbs without tremendous benefit. And the last week or so, I've stopped having that sugary stuff, and I'm starting to melt away. It's good. I dropped a bunch of pounds since I stopped eating that hot sauce. It was the issue that was preventing me from dropping weight. And I'm so glad that I identified it, because although I miss the magic of that hot sauce, it was preventing my progress. James Crate says, have you ever pulled someone over for speeding that said they needed the washroom bad? Oh, yeah, all the time. One of my favorite excuses that isn't an excuse at all. So I would follow them to the closest bathroom after getting their license, ownership, and insurance. I'd write up their tickets while they were doing their business, and then send them on their way. 100%. Okay, dad joke time. As much as I would like to continue chatting, I have stuff and things that need to happen. Dad joke from Nicholas Rizzi. Get my button presses ready. I went to Costco to pay for my sweater I wanted, and my payment was denied at cash. I guess they had to read my cardigan. Cardigan. Sweater cardigan. I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't great. Dad joke. What concert costs just 45 cents? It's 50 cent with Nickelback. I mean, I like it, but I don't love it. Star Wars dad joke. Here's what we know about Babu Frick. Very little. Sorry, in the books there was a picture to make it obvious. Yeah, I love the Star Wars jokes because I don't get half of them. Okay, dad joke. In a surprising announcement, Head & Shoulders has decided to continue their popular anti-dandruff line. The decision has left many scratching their heads. To discontinue. I read it wrong. In a surprising announcement, Head & Shoulders has decided to discontinue their popular anti-dandruff shampoo line, leaving people scratching their heads. Got it. Okay. Okay. The button keeps working. Wow, that dad jokes are not flowing today. They're not terrible. They're just part delivery issue and part meh. All right. Quote, don't let your happiness depend on something you may lose. C.S. Lewis. Don't let your happiness depend on something you may lose. Yeah, that's good advice. I guess, but everything is losable, isn't it? Back to James Crate for a second. I pulled someone over who said they really needed to poo. Actually, I pulled over many people like that, but that particular guy was racing, and it's not an excuse. Not an excuse. Paul says, sponsor screen is missing. I should take this opportunity to thank my sponsors. Diamond & Diamond Lawyers and Barrett Legal are sponsors, and we're working with a bunch of new ones to come on board. But they do make it possible, thanks to them. And I took away the sponsor board because I think that people get wigged out by the concept of the sponsors' logos. They think I'm being paid to be here, where I'm not. I'm doing this because I want to help, and they're helping me help you. It's a good thing. All right. I'll be back tomorrow at 9 p.m. And I believe that Logan will be back since he's back from his trip to Mexico. All right. Have a great day. Stay safe, drive sober, and park legally. Have a great day.